Chosen ones, this is a message of urgency and clarity. The path you are on is sacred, and your life is not an accident. The title you see, Chosen Ones, this action will lead to spiritual death. Do not do it, no matter the cost, is not just a warning, it is a revelation. In a world filled with distractions, illusions, and hidden traps for the soul, there is an action, a choice, that can sever your connection to your higher self and bring about spiritual death. Today, I will explain what that is, why it is so dangerous, and how you can protect yourself from it. Before we go any further, I ask you to watch this video until the end, because every part of it carries energy and guidance meant specifically for you. As you listen, leave your warmest wishes and 99 in the comments below to affirm your connection to the light. By doing so, you are not just commenting, you are activating a frequency of protection and support within this community. Now, Chosen One, like this video, subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel, and let's begin. Every wish begins with a vibration. When you write or speak your wish, you are sending out a signal to the universe. And when that signal is pure, it multiplies. This is why it's so important to use your energy consciously. When you like, comment, and share your warmest wishes, you are not just helping this channel. You are energizing the universe around you to align with your highest good. This video isn't just information. It's a transmission of energy, and by staying until the end, you are stepping into that energy and receiving its power. Now, as we move forward, we will focus entirely on the hidden traps that can lead to spiritual death if ignored. The action that leads to spiritual death is subtle. It rarely looks evil or destructive at first. It often appears as something harmless, something everyone around you might be doing, even encouraging you to do. It can be a decision, a habit, a compromise, or even a relationship. But at its core, it is always the same. It is the act of betraying your soul's truth for the sake of comfort, approval, or gain. Every time you silence your intuition, every time you trade authenticity for acceptance, you cut off a piece of your spiritual life force. The first time you do it, you feel the pain of that disconnection. But if you keep doing it, your soul becomes numb. This numbness is what I call spiritual death, the point at which you are still alive physically, but no longer aligned with the divine energy that flows through you. For chosen ones, the stakes are even higher. You are not like everyone else. You carry a calling, a light, and an assignment that affects the collective. Because of this, the traps set for you are not ordinary traps. They are designed to look attractive to your particular weaknesses or desires. You might be tempted with opportunities that seem too good to be true, relationships that feel intoxicating, or shortcuts that promise to ease your struggle. But every shortcut has a price. The price is always your energy, your freedom, and your connection to truth. This is why you must learn to recognize these traps before they pull you in. Spiritual death doesn't happen overnight. It happens in stages. The first stage is doubt. You begin to doubt your inner knowing, your calling, your uniqueness. Doubt leads to confusion. Confusion leads to compromise, and compromise leads to chains. In the second stage, you start to justify the compromise. You tell yourself it's not that bad, or everyone does it, or it's only temporary. But every time you betray your soul for something temporary, you give away a permanent piece of your light. By the third stage, you no longer feel the urgency to change. You feel heavy, tired, and disconnected. This is the danger zone. This is where you begin to drift away from your mission and into a life that looks okay on the surface but is empty inside. The way to avoid spiritual death is to practice radical honesty with yourself. Ask yourself in every situation, am I betraying my soul for comfort or approval? If the answer is yes, stop immediately, no matter the cost. It may cost you a job, a relationship, or an opportunity, but it will save your soul. And once your soul is protected, everything you truly need will still come to you, but without the hidden price attached. The universe always rewards authenticity. When you stand in your truth, even if you lose something temporary, you gain power, freedom, and alignment with your destiny. You were chosen for a reason. That reason cannot be fulfilled if you are living someone else's life or betraying your inner compass. You cannot lead others to freedom while you are in chains yourself. This is why the stakes are so high. This is why the action that leads to spiritual death, compromise of the soul, must be avoided at all costs. It is not a single act but a pattern, a way of being that slowly erodes who you are meant to be. But the good news is that you can break this pattern at any moment. The moment you return to your truth, you reconnect with life. Think about the areas of your life where you feel drained, heavy, or stuck. Those are the areas where compromise might have taken root. Ask yourself, what am I doing here that is not in alignment with my soul? Then take one step toward change. It doesn't have to be dramatic at first. It can be as simple as saying no to something that feels wrong or speaking your truth when you'd normally stay silent. Each act of truth is a breath of life for your soul. Each act of courage is a spark that reignites your spiritual fire. This is the message for you today. Chosen ones, do not take lightly the warning in this video. Spiritual death is real, but it is not inevitable. You have the power to choose life, light, and authenticity. You have the power to reject the traps of compromise and stand firm in your calling. This is your reminder, your wake-up call, your chance to return to your true path before it's too late. Protect your energy, guard your heart, and above all, never betray your soul, no matter the cost. Chosen one, let us go deeper. You must understand that the battle for your soul is subtle, and it rarely arrives in the form of something obviously destructive. No, it arrives in whispers. It comes clothed in comfort, in distractions, in the promise of an easier way. Spiritual death is not a single strike. It is erosion, and that erosion begins with the smallest acts of neglect. You might think, it's just one lie, just one compromise, just one moment where I ignore my inner voice. But those just one moments stack upon each other until you no longer hear your inner voice at all. That is when the silence becomes deafening, and that silence is the graveyard of your spirit. You must stay awake. The world has 1,000 ways to lull you into sleep, to convince you that your purpose can wait until tomorrow, that your soul's truth is not urgent. But every day you delay, every day you tell yourself later, is a day where you feed the slow decay. Chosen ones, the enemy of your spirit is not always chaos. It is comfort. When you get too comfortable in environments that drain you, too comfortable with people who dishonor your soul, too comfortable with habits that weaken you, that comfort becomes a coffin. It feels warm, it feels familiar, but it is burying you alive. One of the greatest dangers is the normalization of betrayal. The world around you will celebrate compromise as if it were wisdom. People will say, just do what everyone else is doing. Just follow the rules of the system. Just keep quiet and take what you can get. But what they call wisdom is often just submission to a lie. You, chosen one, were never meant to live by the rules of the lie. You were meant to be different, to be uncomfortable in the systems of this world, because your spirit belongs to a higher reality. When you adopt their definitions of success, their definitions of happiness, their definitions of what a normal life should be, you are swallowing poison in the disguise of nourishment. The action that leads to spiritual death is always tied to surrendering your divine uniqueness. When you dim your light so others can feel comfortable, you are dying. When you silence your truth so you don't upset anyone, you are dying. When you take a path that looks easier but violates the integrity of your soul, you are dying. The tragedy is that many people die spiritually long before their physical bodies ever leave this earth. They walk around as shells, breathing, working, even smiling, but inside they are hollow, disconnected, numb. This numbness is the silent epidemic of the chosen ones, but you are not powerless. In fact, your awareness is your greatest weapon. The very fact that you are listening to these words means that your spirit has not died. It is still alive, still reaching, still calling you back to yourself. The universe does not waste messages. If this is reaching you, it is because you are being given another chance to wake up, to realign, to say no to the action that will drain you of life. Take this seriously. You are at a crossroads. One path leads to deeper truth, power, and alignment. The other leads to emptiness, regret, and slow decay. Think of your daily choices. Who do you allow into your space? Who do you give your energy to? Where do you place your attention? These are not small matters. Energy is the currency of the spirit. Every time you give energy to something that does not honor you, you are making an investment into your own decay. But every time you give energy to truth, authenticity, and growth, you are investing in eternal life for your spirit. What looks small now becomes massive later. This is why I say, no matter the cost, do not do the action that betrays your soul. Some of you have already felt the edge of spiritual death. You felt the emptiness after giving yourself to something that you knew was not aligned with your calling. Maybe it was a relationship that drained you, a job that demanded your integrity as payment, or a habit that numbed your spirit. You felt alive in the beginning, but slowly it started to hollow you out. That emptiness you felt was not random. It was your soul crying out, warning you that you were walking toward death. Listen to that cry. Do not silence it. That cry is your lifeline. There is always a moment of decision, a test that will reveal whether you will choose your truth or betray it. This test is never easy. It often feels like you are standing at the edge of loss, that if you choose truth, you will lose everything. And maybe you will lose some things, relationships, jobs, approval, comfort. But what you gain is far greater. Life, freedom, alignment with your destiny. And if you refuse the test and choose betrayal, what you gain is temporary, but what you lose is eternal. That is too high a price for a chosen one. So I tell you again, the cost of spiritual death is greater than the cost of sacrifice. Do not be fooled by what you see in the moment. The temporary comfort of compromise will leave you in eternal regret. The temporary pain of sacrifice will lead you to eternal expansion. Choose wisely. The universe is watching, your higher self is watching, your future self is waiting. Do not betray them. Even now you can feel the truth of these words. Your body might be tingling, your heart might be racing, your soul might be stirring. That is the energy of recognition. Your spirit knows it was not born to die a slow, silent death. It was born to live fully, to express truth, to radiate light. You have the power to step out of compromise and into alignment. And when you do, the universe will respond. Doors will open, paths will clear, energy will flow. But it begins with one decision: to refuse the action that kills the spirit. Chosen ones, let us press further into the hidden layers of this truth. Many people believe that spiritual death happens only when someone deliberately chooses evil, when they consciously turn away from light and embrace darkness. But the reality is more subtle. Spiritual death often comes not through rebellion, but through neglect. It happens when you stop paying attention to your inner life, when you let your soul starve while feeding every other part of yourself. A body can be well-fed, clothed, entertained, and successful in the eyes of the world. But if the soul is neglected, if the inner flame is not tended, you are already dying. Neglect is one of the most silent killers of the spirit. You stop meditating. You stop listening. You stop creating. You stop questioning. You stop seeking. You let the noise of the world drown out the still voice within. And then one day, you wake up and realize you no longer feel connected to anything larger than yourself. You might still be alive, but your life feels mechanical, empty, repetitive. This is the sign of spiritual death, existing without truly living. For a chosen one, this is the greatest tragedy because you were never meant to simply exist. You were meant to ignite. Understand this. When you ignore the signals of your soul, you are training yourself to become deaf to guidance. And when guidance is gone, all that's left is wandering. The wandering spirit is vulnerable, because without direction, it will attach itself to whatever seems loudest, brightest, or most urgent in the moment. This is how so many fall into toxic relationships, destructive cycles, or hollow pursuits. They did not choose evil, they simply stopped choosing truth. And when you stop choosing truth, the default is always death. The action that leads to spiritual death often begins with a trade, the trade of authenticity for acceptance. Acceptance by people who cannot even see your spirit, who do not even value the essence of who you are. You tell yourself, if I just act this way, maybe they'll like me. If I just fit in, maybe I'll be safe. If I just stay quiet, maybe I won't be judged. But every time you do that, you are silencing the very light that was meant to guide you and others. Chosen ones were not made to fit in. You were made to stand out, and the very moment you surrender your uniqueness to blend with the crowd, you begin the descent into spiritual death. But why does this happen? Why is it so hard to remain true? Because the world is designed to test you. The systems around you reward conformity and punish authenticity. They applaud those who follow the script and shame those who step outside of it. This is by design. The more you become like everyone else, the less dangerous you are to the systems of control. The more you conform, the more predictable and powerless you become. And that is why your soul is targeted so intensely. Your authenticity is a threat. Your light is disruptive. Your calling is revolutionary. Chosen ones, the cost of holding on to your truth will be high. You may be misunderstood, rejected, or even attacked for refusing to compromise. But this is the very sign that you are alive, that your spirit has not died. Dead spirits do not face resistance because they have already surrendered. Alive spirits shake the world simply by existing. This is why you feel the pressure, the resistance, the constant temptations to give in. It is because your light is recognized, and there are forces that would rather see it dimmed than shining. Do not be afraid of standing alone. The road to life is narrow, and only a few choose it. Many will try to convince you that you are wrong, that you are foolish, that you are wasting your time by refusing to compromise. But you must hold firm. Your destiny cannot be fulfilled by someone who has lost themselves. You cannot manifest your purpose by betraying your essence. Life may be easier for those who conform, but their ease is only temporary. The emptiness that follows them is unavoidable. You, on the other hand, were not made for emptiness. You were made for expansion. Look back on your own journey. Think of the times when you did betray your soul, when you chose comfort over truth. How did you feel afterward? Perhaps you gained something in the short term, money, approval, security, but did it last? Or did you feel hollow, restless, even guilty inside? That feeling was not punishment, it was guidance. It was your soul telling you, this is not the way. Contrast that with the times you chose truth, even when it was costly. Maybe you lost something, maybe people left you, maybe the path became harder, but deep down, you felt alive. You felt aligned. That is the difference between life and death at the spiritual level. The greatest illusion is that compromise will protect you, but compromise does not protect. It imprisons. The chains may be invisible, but they are real. You will know them by the heaviness in your chest, the fog in your mind, the weariness in your spirit. This is the weight of carrying a life that is not your own. Spiritual death is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply the slow fading of your joy, your creativity, your fire. You stop dreaming. You stop believing. You stop creating. You become a shadow of who you once were. But hear me now. The very moment you decide to reclaim your truth, those chains begin to fall. It doesn't matter how long you've compromised. It doesn't matter how deep you've gone into betrayal. As long as there is breath in your body, your spirit can return to life. One act of truth can undo years of lies. One moment of courage can resurrect what you thought was lost forever. This is the power of being a chosen one. You were given resilience, a light that cannot be fully extinguished, no matter how dim it seems right now. So do not delay. Do not wait until the numbness becomes permanent. The time to act is now. Every day you choose truth, you breathe life back into your soul. Every day you refuse compromise, you step further away from spiritual death and closer to divine destiny. Do not underestimate the power of daily decisions. Life and death are not only in great events, but in small choices, repeated over and over. Choose life, choose authenticity, choose alignment, and remember, chosen one, you were never meant to simply survive. You were meant to live fully, to shine brightly, to stand as proof that spiritual death is not inevitable. You are here to remind the world what it means to be truly alive. That is your calling, and that is your gift. Chosen one, now that you understand how subtle and corrosive spiritual death can be, you must learn how to stand, how to fight, and how to transform. Knowledge alone is not enough. Awareness without action is another trap. It gives you the illusion of progress while you remain still. It's like standing at the edge of a storm and thinking that by watching it, you are safe, when in reality, the storm is moving toward you. Spiritual death is always moving. It is patient. It will wait for your guard to drop, and the moment it does, it will begin again its slow erosion of your soul. This is why vigilance is a daily practice. The first discipline of a chosen one is the discipline of boundaries. Boundaries are not about keeping others out. They are about keeping your essence intact. When you lack boundaries, you are like a city without walls. Anything can enter, and everything sacred within can be stolen or corrupted. The action that leads to spiritual death almost always involves crossing your own boundaries, letting others take what was never theirs to take, or giving away your energy to things that do not serve your spirit. To live fully alive, you must know where you end and the world begins. You must guard the gates of your mind, your heart, your time, and your energy. The second discipline is silence. Not the silence of suppression, but the silence of listening. The world is loud and relentless. If you are always consuming noise, you will never hear the voice of your soul. And when you cannot hear your soul, you cannot follow your path. This silence may feel uncomfortable at first. It may feel like loneliness or emptiness, but in reality, it is space. Space for your spirit to breathe, to speak, to guide. Without this space, you will fill your life with distractions and call it living, when really, it is dying. The third discipline is truth-telling. This is where many chosen ones falter, because telling the truth often costs something. It may cost you relationships, opportunities, or the comfort of being liked. But the alternative is far worse. When you lie to yourself or others, when you suppress your truth to avoid conflict, you are feeding spiritual death. Every lie, no matter how small, is a seed of decay. Every truth, no matter how painful, is a seed of life. When you choose truth, even when it burns, you are cleansing your spirit. You are creating space for real love, real purpose, and real freedom. Chosen ones often fear that if they stop compromising, they will be alone. But what you must understand is that compromise does not create true connection. It only creates attachments built on illusion. When you are authentic, you may lose people, but you will gain yourself. And in time, you will attract those who resonate with your true frequency, not with the mask you wore to be accepted. This is how your life transforms. You move from a network of shallow connections to a circle of deep, soul-aligned relationships. And this circle will sustain you far more than the crowd ever could. There is also the discipline of courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act in alignment with your soul despite fear. You will feel fear when you begin to reclaim your power. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. But fear is not a sign to stop. It is a sign you are moving beyond the prison you built for yourself. Every step you take in fear is a step away from spiritual death and into spiritual life. Fear is temporary. Regret is eternal. You must also learn to transmute your pain. Many chosen ones believe that if they avoid their pain, it will go away. But avoided pain festers. It becomes bitterness, resentment, and heaviness. This heaviness is a doorway to spiritual death because it keeps you anchored to the past. Transmutation means taking your pain and using it as fuel, as wisdom, as art, as compassion. Every wound you heal becomes a source of power. Every scar becomes a map for someone else who is lost. This is how you transform your life from survival to service. Be aware, too, of the counterfeit light. Not every bright thing is good. Not every sweet voice is true. Some of the most dangerous traps for chosen ones are not in obvious darkness, but in false light. These are opportunities, teachers, communities, or practices that look spiritual, but are actually designed to drain you. They will flatter you, give you a sense of belonging, promise quick results, or secret knowledge. But the test is always the same. Does it bring you closer to your own soul and your own truth? Or does it make you dependent on them? Anything that takes you away from your direct connection to your own higher self is a path toward spiritual death, even if it calls itself light. Understand, chosen one, that this journey is not easy because you are not just fighting for yourself. When you choose life over spiritual death, you are breaking patterns not only for yourself, but for your bloodline, your community, and even the collective consciousness. Every time you say no to compromise, you are shifting reality. You are standing as proof that authenticity can survive in a world built on illusion. This is why your path feels so heavy at times. You are carrying more than you realize. But you are strong enough. You were chosen because you are capable. Do not underestimate the power of small acts. It is not always grand gestures that keep you alive spiritually. Sometimes it is simply the choice to rest, to forgive, to speak kindly to yourself, to take one step in the direction of your soul's calling. Every small act of alignment strengthens you. Every day you choose truth, you become more resilient. Every time you protect your energy, you become less vulnerable to the erosion of spiritual death. This is how you build a life that cannot be easily shaken. The journey away from spiritual death is a return to your essence. It is peeling back the layers of who you thought you had to be and rediscovering who you were always meant to be. It is the courage to be fully seen, fully alive, even when the world does not understand. This is the gift of the chosen one, to live authentically, not perfectly, to shine, not to please, to stand firm, not to blend in.